If you had to choose the one trait that is most highly linked to success in life, what would it be? Would it be IQ, emotional intelligence, your work ethic, or something else? Psychiatrist Dr. Joshua Weiner joins us today to share his insights on this question. And this is one that really is sort of tricky for some people. First, trying to figure out what exactly does success in life mean. It's an individual thing, I would imagine. You have, people who are filthy rich and not very happy, they don't consider themselves successful. How do you look at success?
Well, it's interesting. One thing that when they poll young people on this question and they ask them, unfortunately, the most common answer is money and fame. I don't consider that success. Might help, but it's not success in my book. What I consider success is the ability to love, be loved, to have meaningful relationships, to feel a sense of purpose with your life, to feel content. Ultimately, I think happiness is a good measure of success because we found that the happier you are, the more you look back on your life with a feeling of positive attitude, lack of regret, etc. And one of the keys to happiness long-term from a Harvard study we know is having meaningful relationships. I
was going to ask if there have been any studies that kind of look at this question of what traits sort of translate into success the most.
So when you look at happiness, it's the quality of your relationships. But when you look at sort of success in a broad sense, there have been some business studies that have found that the most important trait for success professionally is conscientiousness. So showing up on time, working hard despite not wanting to do something, being very punctual, etc., those sorts of things. But really what I believe from treating people for 20 years almost now, what I consider one of the most important traits for people to have is the ability to tolerate discomfort. So that is really key, I think, because I think it's easy to do the easy thing, right? But for a lot of people, they just have a hard time managing uncomfortable emotions. And that manifests in so many ways. So in a work environment, you're not going to push yourself when things become challenging. You're not going to have that attitude, the grit to stick with things. In personal relationships, you're automatically, any personal relationship, eventually you're going to encounter some uncomfortable situations. Well, do you just run away from that, dump the person, not talk to them, or do you deal with those uncomfortable conversations and just sit with these uncomfortable emotions for a while and learn how to manage it and work through it? If you translate everything, sort of, in my opinion, almost in some way boils down to that, even conscientiousness, right? Conscientiousness, nobody really wants to wake up when their alarm goes off and get to work on time. Right. They'd rather stay in bed. Ability to tolerate this discomfort and delay gratification.
So how do you work with people on doing that then? There are a lot of people who are very adept at identifying these stressors and figuring out how to dodge them, how not to deal with them.
Right. Well, look, I think that some of this is just the way some people are born, right? I think a lot of this is sort of baked into your genetics. So I think some of it is just how you come out. But I do think this is something that you can practice and you can learn. So from a parenting perspective with your child, I think it starts with homework, sporting events, things that they don't want to do, making sure that you push them to do these things because they're going to try to get out of stuff, chores around the house. Every time you have these little experiences and you let your child get away with this, they are not having an opportunity to practice that feeling of doing something that creates a little discomfort, but then hopefully seeing that there are good, positive results that come from this. And so it's these little episodes over and over, year after year, that make a difference. And what we've come to know is that the brain really is like a muscle. We used to think that the brain was sort of fixed and didn't really change, and you just had brain cells that die. Now we know that the more you do something, like practice, being uncomfortable, the more that part of your brain grows and the easier it gets over time.
So it becomes second nature after
maybe
a while.
Not second nature for some people, certainly easier
Okay.
for sure.
All right, some great advice there, some great information. Dr. Weiner, thanks so much.
My pleasure.